Hank. Hi, Hank.
Tell him he's live now.
Good evening, everyone. What about the show? Good morning, everyone. What about, so do that. Whatever's going on, stop it,
I
please.
don't know what's going on.
Good morning, everyone. Or good after, yeah, good morning.
Come on.
Today, we're going to begin something anew. As I was reading, I Am Discourses number 4, and I realized that all of the people that I have here now are still just beginning. We got new people because I invited people to come and do what we do. And but we've been reading volume 4, and everyone doesn't even know volume 1, 2, or 3. And if you were with me for the last 2 years, you would have known that. But most of the people I have now are new. Can you cut on these 2 lights for me? And so I decided what we will do today is we'll start volume 1, where the story begins. And so we're going to start this story on this one here, and you can cut that one out.
Yes?
Yeah. We'll start the story on Unveiled Mysteries. This is a story, is about a time that happened about 90 years ago. So it was like 1930s. It's like 1932. And the world was in a desperate situation. In fact, the world had become so evil that the beings in the great central sun said, destroy Earth. It's just too evil. It is the citadel of wickedness and evil. And a great saint came and said, give me a chance to try and save it one last time. And that saint was named Saint Germain. And this is the story of Saint Germain coming to Earth to help benefit the planet. When he went to do this, it wasn't like they said, oh, okay, you're a nice guy, we're going to let you do it. No. What ended up happening was the beings from the great central sun said, no, you can't. It's not that kind of party. You can't just ask to do this. And what he did is he put up his own ascension, his own God realization for the benefit of planet Earth. And the deal is, if you can't accomplish this, if you can't do it, you lose your God consciousness. You lose your own ascension in God consciousness. And so he was given a chance 90 years ago, and we're still here. So we're trucking at it. And so we're going to start out reading Unveiled Mysteries, Volume 1 of the Unveiled Mysteries. Okay. So it begins in Northern California, a place called Mount Shasta. So I'll start reading from here. Chapter 1, Meeting the Master. Mount Shasta stood out boldly against the winter sky, surrounded at its base by a growth of pine and fir trees that made it look like a jeweled diamond shining whiteness held in a filigree setting of green. And the snow-covered peaks glistened, and its snow-covered peaks glistened and changed colors from moment to moment as the shadows lengthened in the sun's descent toward the horizon. Jadine, rumors said there was a group of men, divine men, in fact, called the Brotherhood of Mount Shasta, who formed the branch of the Great White Lodge. And this focus from very ancient times had continued unbroken down to the present day. Can you find my other glasses? These are weak. I had been sent on government business to a little town situated at the foot of the mountain, and while thus engaged, copied my leisure time I had been sent on government business to a little town situated at the foot of the mountain, and while thus engaged, occupied my leisure time trying to unravel this rumor concerning the brotherhood. I knew through travels in the Far East that most rumors, myths, and legends have somewhere as their origin a deep, underlying truth. Ah, nice. Underlying truth that usually remain recognized by all but those who are real students of life. Nah, that sentence made no sense to me. Let's read it again. Truth that usually remain unrecognized by all but those who are real students of life. I fell in love with Shasta, and each morning, almost involuntarily, saluted the spirit of the mountain and the members of the order. I sensed something very unusual about the entire locality, and in the light of the experience that followed, I do not wonder that some of them cast their shadows before. Long hikes on the trail had become my habit whenever I wanted to think things out along or make decisions of serious import. Here on this great giant of nature, I found recreation, inspiration, and peace that soothed my soul and invigorated my mind and body. So what we're talking about is a guy, when Saint Germain asked to save the planet, he said, I have a disciple that has taken birth now, and with his help, I think we can change the planet. And so the disciple was Godfrey Ray King. And And this is who's speaking now. He wrote this first book. Godfrey Ray King wrote the first two books. I planned such a hike for pleasure as I thought to spend some time deep in the heart of the mountain when the following experience entered my life to change it so completely that I could almost believe I was on another planet before my return to the usual routine in which I had been engaged for months. In the morning in question, I started out at daybreak, deciding to follow where fancy led, and, in a vague sort of way, asked God to direct my path. By noon, I had climbed high up on the side of the mountain, with a view to the south was beautiful as a dream. As the day advanced, it grew very warm, and I stopped frequently to rest and to enjoy to the full the remarkable stretch of country around the McCloud River Valley and town. It came time for lunch, and I sought a mountain spring for clear, cold water. Cup in hand, I bent down to fill it, when an electric current passed through my body from head to foot. I looked around, and directly behind me stood a young man who, at first glance, seemed to be someone on a hike like myself. I looked more closely and realized immediately that he was no ordinary person. As this thought passed through my mind, he smiled and addressed me, saying, My brother, if you will hand me your cup, I will give you a much more refreshing drink than spring water. I obeyed, and instantly the cup was filled with the creamy liquid. Handing it back to me, he said, Drink it. I did so, and must have looked my astonishment. While the taste was delicious, the electrical vivifying effect in my mind and body made me grasp with surprise. I did not see him put anything into the cup, and I wondered what was happening. That which you drank, he explained, comes directly from the universal supply, pure and vivifying as life itself. In fact, it is life, omnipresent life, for it exists everywhere about us. It is subject to our conscious control and direction, willing, willingly obedient when we love enough, because all the universe obeys the behest of love. Whatsoever desire manifest, I want to go back to that. So, as you attain uh, ascension and realization, as you go higher and higher and higher, you will see miraculous things begin to happen about you and for you and by your own will. And manifestation is one of these things that you see immediately or you begin to see. Whatsoever I desire manifests itself when I command in love. I held out the cup, and that which you desired for you appeared. See, I have but to hold out my hand. If I wish to use gold, gold is here. Instantly there laid in his palm a disc about the size of a $10 gold piece. Again he continued, $10 gold piece. Now I don't know how big that is now, but we were dealing in gold in this time. Gold and silver was money in 1930, 31, 32, all before 1933. We did, money was gold and silver. It was not pieces of paper. Okay. I see within you a certain inner understanding of the great law, but you are you are not outwardly aware of it enough to produce that which you desire direct from the omnipresent universal supply. You have desired to see something of this kind so intensely, so honestly, and so determinedly, it could no longer be held from you. However, precipitation is one of the least important activities of the great truth of being. If your desire had not been free from selfishness and the fascination of phenomena, such an experience could not have come to you. When leaving home this morning, you thought you were coming on a hike. That is, so far as the outer of your mind was concerned. In the deeper, larger sense, you were really following the urge of your inner God self that led to the person, place, and condition wherein your most intense desires could be fulfilled. The truth of life is you cannot desire that which is not possible of manifestation somewhere in the universe. The more intense the feeling within the desire, the more quickly it will be attained. This is a secret for attaining wealth. However, if one be foolish enough to desire something that will injure another of God's children or any part of God's creation, then that person will pay the penalty in discord and failure somewhere in his own life experience. We reap what we sow, karma. It is very important to realize fully that God's intent for every one of his children is abundance of every good and perfect thing. He created perfection and endowed his children with exactly the same power. They can create and maintain perfection also and express God's dominion over the earth and all that is therein. Mankind was originally created in the image and likeness of God. The only reason all did not manifest dominion is because they did not use their divine authority, that with which each individual is endowed, and by which he is intended to govern his world. Thus, they are not obeying the law of love by pouring out peace and blessings to all creation. This comes about through their failure to accept and acknowledge themselves as temples of the Most High Living God, and to hold this acknowledgement with eternal recognition. Humanity, in its present seemingly lim, limitations of time, space, and activity, is in the same condition a person in need would be to whom someone held out a handful of money if the needy one did not step forward and accept money held out to him? How in the world could he have the benefit which which it could bring? I want to read that chapter again. This next page just look like powerful jewels are being given. This comes about through their failure to accept and acknowledge themselves as a temple of the Most High Living God, and to hold this acknowledgement with eternal recognition. Humanity in its present seemingly limitation of time, space, and activity is in the same condition a person in need would be, to whom one held out a handful of money. If the needy one did not step forward and accept the money held out to him, how in the world could he ever have the benefit which it could bring? The mass of humanity is exactly in the same state of consciousness today, and will continue in its until they accept the God within their hearts as the owner, giver, and doer of all the good that has ever come into their lives and world. The personal self of every individual must acknowledge completely and unconditionally that the human or outer activity of consciousness has absolutely nothing of its own. Check that out, y'all. I want to read that again because we're talking about a serious jewel here. The personal self of every individual must acknowledge completely and unconditionally that the human or outer activity of consciousness has absolutely nothing of its own. We own nothing. We have nothing. We do not do the seeing through our eyes. We do not pump the blood through our heart. We do not pump the air in and out of our lungs. Everything is done for us. In fact, we could not exist if that energy wasn't inside of us. Even the energy by which one recognizes the great God within is radiating into the personal self by the great God self. Love and praise. Oh, we got Sister
Chinita. That's Xavier.
Okay.
I appreciate everybody's.
Love and praise of the great self within, and attention, maintain focus upon truth, health, freedom, peace, supply, or any other thing that you may desire for right use. Presently held in your conscious thought and feeling will bring them into use and the world as surely as there is a great law of magnetic attraction in the universe. The eternal law of life is what you think and feel, you bring into form.
I think we all need to just agree.
Sorry.
Where your thought is, there you are, for you are your consciousness, and what you meditate upon, you become. If you meditate on God, you become God. When one allows his mind to dwell upon thoughts of hate, condemnation, lust, envy, jealousy, criticism, fear, doubt, or suspicion, and allows these feelings of irritation to generate within him, he will certainly have discord, failure, and disaster in his mind, body, and world. As long as he persists in allowing his attention to be held by such thoughts, whether they be about nations, person, places, condition, or thing, he is absorbing those activities into the substance of his mind, his body, and his affairs. In fact, he is forcing them into his experience. That is very deep. I want to read that again, y'all, because it is the key to us becoming what it is that we want to become. Now, let's do that again. When one allows his mind to dwell upon thoughts of hate, condemnation, lust, envy, jealousy, criticism, fear, doubt, or suspicion, and allows these feelings of irritation to generate within him, he will certainly have discord, failure, and disaster in his mind, body, and world, as long as he persists in allowing his attention to be held by such thoughts, whether they be about nations, person, places, conditions, or thing. He is absorbing those activities into the substance of his mind, his body, and his affairs. In fact, he is compelling, forcing them into his experience. We need to comment on that. As we think about our lives, the lives that we want, the lives that we are living. Can you cut this light? Oh, it's this one. The lives that we are living. What happens is, this is the destiny that we're putting forth for ourselves. Yeah. Give me one of those the papers, the sticky papers. If we want thoughts of happiness, if we want a happy life, if we want wealth, if we want to do karate, if we want to ride bikes, if we want to run and jog and do exercises, we think about this first. Then we do it. The things that we don't think about don't enter into our lives, but the things that we think about do enter into our lives. It's only a matter of time before they manifest in the form of an act, an object, or an event. But our thoughts perpetuate our life. Our thoughts set our life in motion. Our thoughts creates our destiny. There's a book called Thinking in Destiny, and it is our thoughts that bring to us everything we have in life, good or bad. Our thoughts were the author of this reality, and this is the secret of life. Think the life that you want to experience, no matter how far away it may be. I thought getting myself personally, the person who's speaking to you now, thought getting $500 billion. Oh man, that's a lifetime endeavor. How could I do that? It's what I thought I would need, $500 billion to do what I want to do in this life. And I just kept thinking about it. How I would get it, I have no idea. And then something came that showed me how I could get that, way more than that. This is life, y'all. This is really life. Let's say, well, forget about let's say. There was a time I was living life having so much adventure, living a dangerous life. And I thought I'd like to meet a spiritual master. The life I was living compared to living a life of meeting a spiritual master, like he's living right here, like he's experiencing right now. Godfrey Ray King has experienced meeting a spiritual master in the form of Saint Germain. I thought I wanted to live a spiritual life, and I was not living a spiritual life at the time. But I thought about it all the time, and I wanted to meet a spiritual master so bad. And those thoughts brought that spiritual master into my life in a most unusual way, similar to this story here, in a most unusual way. But it was my thoughts that brought me to that. At the time, it looked like I'd either be killed, hospitalized, injured, or incarcerated. But my thoughts said, no, that's not going to be for you. What you would most like to do is finally, and at long last, meet a divine spiritual master, a God man who would take me around the world, teach me all kind of magic and stuff like that. That was my thoughts. Those thoughts manifested in my life. And it changed everything. It introduced me to the greatest time in life, the best time of life so far. It's when I met my spiritual master. All these discordant activities, and it was the thoughts that drove me to the spiritual master. It was the thoughts and feelings that drove me to that experience. All these discordant activities reach the individual and his world through his thoughts and feelings. Feeling often flashes before one is aware of the thought in the outer consciousness, which he might use to control it. All these discordant activities reach the individual and his world through his thoughts and feelings. Feelings often flashes before one is aware of the thought in the outer consciousness, which he might use to control it. And this kind of experience should teach him how great is the energy within his many creations, which has accumulated through habit. The feeling activity of life is the most unguarded point of human consciousness. I want to say that again. This is a jewel. The feeling activity of life is the most unguarded point of human consciousness. It is the cumulative energy by which thoughts are propelled into atomic substance, and thus thoughts become things. That's deep, y'all. It is the cumulative energy by which thoughts are propelled into atomic substance, and thus thoughts become things. So, thoughts become things. We create a thought out of our brain. It infuses into the electrons and atoms that surround us, and they bring back to us in the form of an act, an object, or an event, the thought we thought. I tell you, the need of guarding the feeling cannot be emphasized too strongly, for control of emotions play the most important part of anything in life, in maintaining balance in the mind, health in the body, success and accomplishments in the affairs and worlds of the personal self of every individual. These are jewels, y'all. Thoughts can never become things until they are clothed with feelings. Thoughts can never become things until they are clothed with feelings. So we issue a thought, and that thought is going out there, but it is never going to be something. It is never going to come back to us in the way of an act, an object, or an event unless we put feelings into it. Take this for example. You see a young girl. You're in school, you're young, and you think about this girl. Oh, she's pretty, she's beautiful, she's this, that, and the other. I'm in love, okay? That's how we think. But once we start saying, I'm in love, and we start putting feelings into those thoughts, next thing you know, this girl is thinking about you. And the very next thing you know, you and this girl are together, in love, But the secret to life, the secret to life, is thinking and feeling. The secret to life is thinking and feeling. And the more intense your feelings, the faster you will draw that thought into manifestation. So as we said, thoughts can never become things until they are clothed with feelings. The Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit is the feeling side of life, God, the activity of divine love, or the mother expression of deity. This is why the sin against the Holy Ghost is referred to as that which brings such great distress, because any discord in the feeling breaks the law of love, which is the law of balance, harmony, and perfection. Let's read that again. Because any discord in the feeling breaks the law of love, which is the law of balance, harmony, and perfection. That's deep. Here's another jewel coming. The greatest crime in the universe against the law of love is humanity's almost ceaseless sending forth every kind of irritable and destructive feeling. Let's read that again, y'all, because it is a jewel. The greatest crime in the universe against the law of love is humanity's almost ceaseless sending forth of every kind of irritable and destructive feeling. One day the race will come to realize and recognize that the sinister, destructive forces manifesting on this earth and its atmosphere generated, mark you, by human thought and feelings, have only entered the affairs of individuals or nations through lack of control in the emotions in everyone's daily personal experience. Even destructive thoughts cannot express themselves as action, events, or become physical things except by passing through the world of feeling. For it is in this phase of manifestation, the activity of coalescing the physical atoms upon thought forms take place. As the noise from a certain explosion shocks the nervous system of one who hears it, setting up a trembling sensation in the cellular structure of the body. In exactly the same way do flares of irritated feeling shock, disturb, and disarrange the inner substance and the atomic structure of the mind, body, and world of the person who sends them out, consciously or unconsciously, intentionally or unintentionally. In other words, as we think, so we bring into reality what it is that we're thinking. But consider this. Imagine a thought of anger. Imagine this. Imagine your body in cells. There's trillions of cells, but just imagine yourself as a cell, right? And the trillions of cells that exist within your body. If you send out a discordant thought of anger, let's say, those thoughts disturb the cell wall of your body in the same way mortar would be disturbed by a shock. Like, let's say, if earthquake came, the mortar between the bricks that's what anger does to the cell walls of our cells. In the same way that mortar would get loose, the bricks would get loose because of the shock waves that's being sent into a building. When we think thoughts of anger, uh, um, and all these excited, destructive thoughts, it's like shock waves going through our body and loosening up the cell wall of the cells within that creates our very structure. It weakens it, it destroys it, it ages it, it corrupts it. Okay? Discordant feeling is the product of conditions we call disintegration, old age, lack of money, and every other failure in the world of human experience. Oh, what did I hear? Let's read that again. Discordant feeling is the producer of conditions we call disintegration, old age, lack of money, and every other failure in the world of human experience. The effects upon the body structure is the same as that produced upon a building if the mortar holding the bricks together were to receive repeated shocks, and each day those were to be increased. This continued shock would shake apart the particles composing the mortar. The building would collapse into a chaotic mass, and the form be no more. That is what mankind is constantly doing to the atomic structure of the human body with its evil thoughts and actions. Actions and feelings, which is evil thoughts, feelings, and actions. To give expression to the discordant thoughts and feeling in oneself is the course of least resistance and the habitual activity of the undeveloped, undisciplined, and willful individual who refuses to understand the law of his own being and to bring the personal self, which is but his instrument of expression, into obedience to the law. In other words, you want your life to be right, become right. You want your life to manifest the things that you want, a wonderful mate, money, wonderful experiences. Think in that vein. Think in the way of I will do what I know to be right. I will control my feelings. I will control my emotions. I will control anger, lust, insensitivity, greed, envy, jealousy. I will control these thoughts. I will not give them outer expression, and they cannot form in my life. I will not let myself be allowed to be angry because somebody did something to me or against me. I will just stay calm, poised, and in control of my feelings and my thoughts. He who cannot or will not control his thoughts and feeling is in a bad way. For every door of his consciousness is wide open to the disintegrating activity thrown off by the mind and the emotions of others' personalities. It takes neither strength nor wisdom nor training to give way to unkind, destructive impulses, and the full grown human being who do this are but children in their development of self-control. That's a jewel, y'all. In other words, if you can't control your feelings, you're still a child. You're still a child in your human development. It is a blight upon the life of mankind that so little control of the emotions is taught humanity from the cradle to the grave. Attention to this particular point is great. Attention to this particular point is the greatest need in Western world today. It is easy to give way to discordant thoughts, feelings, and activities because the mass of mankind are subjected, as it were, by environmental and association entirely created by themselves. Let's read that again. Let's read that again, because this is another jewel. It is easy to give way to discordant thoughts, feelings, and activities because the mass of mankind are submerged, as it was, by environment and association entirely created by themselves. The individual, through his control of the outer consciousness, must make the effort to rise out of this condition by his own free will in order to transcend these limitations permanently, and no one can hope to rid his life and world of misery, discord, and destruction until she leashes his lashes his own thought and feeling. In this way, he refuses to let the life flowing through his mind and body become qualified by discord, resulting from every little disturbing occurrence in the world about him. At first, here's another jewel. At first, such discipline does require determined, continuous effort, for the thoughts and feeling of 95% of humanity run as uncontrolled and free as a little tramp dog. In other words, the mind of the average person just is out there going free. It has very little control. We control our minds very little. We control our emotions even less. However, no matter how much effort it takes to bring up these two activities under control, it is worth any amount of time, energy, and effort, and no real permanent dominion of one's life and world can take place without it. It will be my pleasure and privilege to teach you to use these higher laws. Their application and use will enable you to release true wisdom and bring about all perfection. So he's telling Godfrey Ray King, Saint Germain is telling Godfrey Ray King right now, if you will allow me, I will teach you how to control your thoughts and emotions. The first step to control of yourself is the stilling of all outer activity by both mind and body. 15 to 30 minutes at night before retiring and in the morning before beginning the day's work. Using the following exercise will do wonders for anyone who will make the necessary effort. For the second step, Jadine, for the second step, make certain of being undisturbed, and after becoming, can you let him in? For the second step, make certain of being undisturbed, and after becoming very still, picture and feel your body enveloped in a dazzling white light. The first 5 minutes while holding this picture, recognize and feel intensely the connection between the outer self and your mighty God within. Focusing your attention upon the heart center and visualizing it as a golden sun. So what he's teaching them a meditation technique here. He says the first 15 to half hour of the day, right? The first step to controlling yourself is the stilling of all outer activity of both mind and body. So he tells them 15 to 30 minutes at night before retiring, in the morning before beginning the day's work, using the following exercise will do wonders for anyone who will make the necessary effort. So This is what we do in the morning here every day, except Saturdays now. We wake up and we meditate, but we pray. Anyone who's listening to this and who would like to enter into a daily spiritual discipline of power, not just a daily discipline of power. You wake up in the morning, we wake up in the morning, you can join us. You can join us. If you want to do a daily discipline of power, you can join us. It's free. All you got to do is send in the information. The information is running on the bottom here. Uh, and you can send me your name and your email, and you can join us in the morning. The first step, he's telling them now another technique in meditation. For the second step, make certain of being undisturbed, and after becoming very still, picture and feel your body enveloped in a dazzling white light. That's relatively easy. So you just imagine yourself enveloped. Imagine in your mind a white light, a dazzling, bright, brilliant, dazzling, shimmering white light. Imagine that in your mind. This is what Saint Germain is telling Godfrey Ray King. Okay? For the second step, make certain to being undisturbed, and after becoming very still, picture and feel your body enveloped in a dazzling white light. The first 5 minutes, while holding this picture, recognize and feel intensely the connection between the outer self and your mighty God within, focusing your attention upon the heart center, visualizing it as a golden sun. The next step, now this is the third step, is the acknowledgement. I now joyously accept the fullness of the mighty God presence, the pure Christ. Feel the great brilliancy of the light and intensity. It in every cell of your body for at least 10 minutes longer. So you're going to be meditating for 40 minutes. Okay. The next step is the acknowledgement. I now joyously accept the fullness of the mighty God presence, the pure Christ. Feel the great brilliancy of the light and intensity. It in every cell of your body for at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes longer. Then close the meditation by the command. I am a child of the light. I love the light. I serve the light. I live in the light. I am protected, illumined, supplied, sustained by the light, and I bless the light. So say that after you finish your meditation. When you finish your meditation, as you're coming out of your meditation, as you're experiencing your meditation, the end of your meditation, say, I am a child of the light. I love the light. I serve the light. I live in the light. I am protected, illumined, supplied, sustained by the light, and I bless the light. Remember always, one becomes that upon which he meditates. And since all things have come forth from the light, light is the supreme perfection and control of all things. And what is light? Thought. Light is thought. Light is thought. Contemplation and adoration of the light compels illumination to take place in the mind, health, strength, in order to come into the body, and peace, harmony, and success to manifest in the affairs of every individual who will readily do it and seek to maintain it. All the way down the centuries, in every age, under every condition, we are told by all who have expressed the greatest accomplishment of life that light is supreme. The light is everywhere, and in the light exists all things. That truth is just as true today as it was 1,000,000 years ago. As far back as there is any record of humanity, the wise and great ones of all ages are portrayed with the radiation of light about them, emanating from the head and body of each. This light is real, just as real as the electric light in your homes. The day is not far distant when machines will be constructed to reveal the emanation of light about every individual to the physical sight of everyone who cares to observe it. Such a machine will also show contaminations or discoloration that becomes a cloud around the light of God, which the personal self generates through discordant thoughts and feelings. This, and this alone is the way by which the energy of the great life stream is misused and wrongly qualified. Jadine, I want to show you a picture of what he's saying right here. Each of us, we have our aura. This is the light coming out of our body, right? It is the light of ourself, right? Can you hand me those pictures right over there with the book under Saint Germain's picture? All those pictures of the body, not there, straight ahead, book on the page. Yeah, all those pictures of the aura, the next shelf, on top, in the next shelf. In the next, Jadine, go down. Look there, and there's pictures. Yeah. So, as we exist, these brilliant, beautiful lights are emanating from out of our body, from out of our chakras, and they're giving off different colors, right? And they give off different colors, and because of our purity, because of our correct thinking, our body will look something like this: purity in the light. The body is clear; it's not contaminated by a whole lot of junk, but it's clean and it is pure right there. It is pure and clean right there, right? When we want to give it power, when we really develop that purity, that power within, through prayer, through decrees, through chanting, through mantra, through meditation, and through service to humanity or the guru, then the body becomes like this. The auras that we give off look like this. The auras that we give off look like this. And the light of God is just beaming out of our body. The chakras all giving off their light and their energy. Then our body begins like this. When we're like this, we're in a pure place to attain God consciousness. Then we get the great boom. The Kundalini is awakened, and it springs it uncoils like a spring. We're initiated by a spiritual master, and we begin to look like this. Our whole body, the Kundalini is unleashed, and the light is trying to force its way up into the head to bring about the esoterically phenomenon known as the opening of the third eye. But what happens to the average individual is this. Their mind is distorted. This is how your aura looks. Confused. This is the aura of the modern human being. Confused, chained, nothing but static and chaos. And his voice, look at the mouth, sending out curse words and negativity of all types. His whole world is deranged. He's living in a metropolis, confused and distorted. Many people become depressed, and their aura is shaken and disturbed, all coming from their own feelings and thoughts, depressions, sadness of all kinds. Then we come to the truly, truly evil ones. Their reality is like this. So their distorted reality looks like this. Totally disturbed. Nothing but darkness coming all out of them. Dark smoke. All out of them. You know, electric bolts of bedevilment. All about them. Look at the thoughts coming out of the mouth. Negative words and cursing. Look at the energies, how the chakras are just this muddied and deformed. Look at the energy just jetting out of the body of this person. This red electric energy jetting out. Now, these are real demons. This is the average aura of a person in Congress. This is what our politicians look like. Look at the demons here and there, talking words in his head. Look at the ones on his feet. He's surrounded by demons, and he evoked these demons through his own thoughts. This is what our average congressman looks like. If you take 100 of our congressmen in D.C. and you put them together, only 14 out of the 100 will not look like this. Only 14 will have an aura of pure light. This is the state of affairs of humanity in America and the world. Okay. So we're talking about the lights that's coming out of our bodies, right? All the way down the centuries in every age, under every condition, we are told by all who have expressed the greater accomplishment of light that light is supreme. I'm repeating this. The light is everywhere. In the light exists all things. Truth is just as true today. That truth is just as true today as it was 1,000,000 years ago. It was 1,000,000 years ago. Okay. As far back as there is any record of humanity, the wise and great ones of all ages have portrayed with a radiation of light about them, emanating from the head and body of each. This light is real, just as real as the electric light in your homes. Okay. And he's saying that there will be a machine coming that could show this. This machine has already been invented, y'all. It's called the Corella, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that, Corella machine. I had the name in my, it's not exactly that, but it'll come to me. If you practice this exercise faithfully, all right, such a machine will also show the contamination or discoloration that becomes a cloud around the light of God, which the personal self generates through discordant thoughts and feelings. This and this only is the way by which the energy of the great life stream is misused and wrongly qualified. If you will practice this exercise faithfully and feel it in every atom of your mind and body with deep, deep intensity, you will receive abundant proof of the tremendous activity, power, and perfection which abides and is forever active within the light. When you have experienced this for even a short time, you will need no further proof. You become your own proof. The light is the kingdom. Enter into it and be at peace. Return to the Father's house. After the first 10 days of using this exercise, it is well to do it 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. We often hear the complaint, oh, I cannot give all that time. I cannot give all that time to anyone who are of this opinion. I wish to say simply this. The time the average person spends in criticizing, condemning, and blaming people, condition, and things for not being something other than they are, if occupied with this recognition and use of the light, will make heaven manifest on earth for the individual who will dare to try and has determination enough to maintain it. Nothing is impossible. The light never fails. So what he is actually doing right now with Godfrey Gray King, he's dropping on him the jewels of how the individual becomes God. He's just told him, you do this one thing and you will become God. Not only will your life be transformed, you will become God. This is an exercise. This is one of the exercises. This is one of the techniques how an average human being will transform himself into a godlike human being. That is just one technique. Are there other techniques? There are many. And if you do them all daily, you will get the fruits of these techniques much more rapidly than if you just did one alone. Okay, so not to keep you in suspense, what are these techniques? Well, these are the techniques that we do every morning. Prayer, decrees, chanting powerful chants, repeating the mantra, and meditation, and service to the guru or God or humanity. Service. These techniques will purify the mind and heart of any individual and take them to higher states of consciousness and eventually God realization and ascension. Let us continue. The light is God's way of creating and maintaining order, peace, and perfection throughout his creation. Every human being on earth can have all the time he wants in which to do this when he desires to do it is intense enough. Every human being on earth can have all the time he wants in which to do this when his desire to do it is intense enough. The intensity in the desire itself will record the world of people. The intensity in the desire itself will reorder the world of people. I read it wrong. Reorder the world of people, conditions, and things so as to provide that time if he earnestly wishes to use it for his upward climb. No person in the world is an exception to that law. For the intense desire to do anything constructive, when it becomes intense enough, is the God power that releases the energy necessary to create and express the thing desired. Okay. I want to say this for people who don't know what to do in their life, and for people who know exactly what they want to do in life. Sometimes what you want to do is so gargantuan that you give it up because you just can't think. You can't think of how you can accomplish this great thing. You got a thought in your mind, but if you don't give it up and you keep thinking on it, ideas of how you can get closer and closer to manifesting this thought or making this thought come about will come to you more and more, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. If you keep it up, that thought is going to find a way to come to you in the way of an act, an object, or an event. It is the law. It cannot help it. So this is why I'm making this emphasis now. There was a guy who lived in Hawaii. He was a black guy, right? He wanted to be a president. The very thought of this, a black president, was unheard of, unthinkable even in racist America. But this guy never stopped thinking about it. He said, I'm not only thinking about this, I'm going to be this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be a black president. He probably said in his mind, I'm going to be the first black president. Truth be told, there was like 2 others before him, if not 3, in America. Yeah. There was other black presidents before him, before George Washington even. Okay. All right. You think on it, you're going to make it happen. No matter what it is, you think on it, you're going to make it happen. My wildest dreams, to me, now I see a way and I see a path which I can make them happen. Wildest dreams. I now see a path to make them happen. Before I thought, I can't imagine this happening at all. Where would I get the money to do this great thing? Where would I, excuse me, y'all. Admit. Someone's trying to come in. Okay, excuse me. How could I do it? How will I do it? I see no way upon which I can do this thing. And then a way came. I never let go of the thoughts. I would think this thought until I die. You know, I want to do this. I want to create this. And I never let the thought go. Now the thought is plain before my eyes. Not only the vast amount of money that I would need to get it is before me, where I can see how I can easily get that money. You know, get that money in a way that just seems unbelievable. Definitely too good to be true. There it was. There it is. Now, what will I do? Will I go for it like I want to? The money's is right there to be had. Will I go for it, or will I flinch? I ain't flinching, y'all. And that's just me. What about you? What is the great thing you want to do? What is the greatest thing that you think you could do in this world? And investing in money ain't the thing. What is the greatest thing that you think you could do to benefit some other person or the world at large? What is your greatest desire? And hopefully it's not centered around just yourself. What is your greatest desire? But even if it is centered around your God self, you can go for this alone and you'll attain that thing. Everything in the world is attainable. God consciousness is attainable. If you think on it and you move on it on a daily basis, you'll become God. There is nothing that you could attain in your life that would be greater than becoming the God conscious self within. Nothing. Nothing is going to be greater than that. And the real deal is if you think on it long enough, you will attain it. It pretty much is just that simple. All right. I stopped to pause here to let people know whatever it is that you think, no matter how outlandish or far off it is, even if you want to go to other planets, that can be accomplished. Whether you go there physically or you astral project to other worlds, it can be accomplished. There is nothing that you can think that you cannot accomplish. All right? No matter what. Everyone has the same supreme privilege of contact with the all-powerful presence of God. And it is the only power that ever did, does now, or ever will raise the personal self and its world above earthly discord and limitation. My beloved son, try this. This is Saint Germain saying to Godfrey Ray King now. My beloved son, try this with great determination and know God in you, in your certain victory. My son, try this with great determination and know God in you is your certain victory. As this discourse ended, I began to realize that he must be one of the ascended masters, for he had not only given me proof of his dominion over the elements by precipitation, but had instructed and explained as he did it. I sat wondering how it was that he knew me. My son, he said, answering my thought, at once, I have known you for eons. In raising your thought by your own conscious effort, it made my coming to you possible at this time. All right, y'all. I want to say something because it's just that deep. You know, things that just happened, I'm seeing, and I got to talk. I was living a dangerous life. And for me to want to be with God is just seeing, and none of my friends did. You know, we just did not, we didn't even think of that. And, but I never stopped thinking that thought. I never stopped thinking that thought. I'm going to be with a spiritual master, somebody like Christ, you know, a powerful master like that. You know, I'm going to be with somebody that had that kind of power, that's omniscient, omnipotent, omnipotent. Now, I'm living the life of a gangster at the time, you know, and I'm moving hard in that world. And, but I never gave up that thought. So it came to pass that circumstances arranged themselves to come into my life to say, choose this life you got here or the life with that spiritual master you always wanted to meet. So I took the choice of going to that spiritual master I always wanted to meet. I gave up making, it wasn't all that much money, about $25,000 a day at the time. Was it more? But I gave it up and said, I'm going to go meet this person. You know, I do this, I do that. You know, let's meet this person and see what it's going to be like. I didn't plan to stay with him. I just planned to check him out. A spiritual master who was on tour here in America. And I thought to myself, well, the cops are after you now. Go hide. So I went and hide with the spiritual master. And my whole life changed. The life changed. Everything changed. And although it was a very adventurous life I was living, the one that was coming up was more adventurous and deep, more adventurous and deeper. Oh, anyway, living with a God man or a God conscious being is by no stretch of the imagination an ordinary life. It's going to be a great life. It's going to be powerful. You are going to suffer in that life because you don't want to give up your ego, and you will suffer because of that very fact. But the moment you start letting that ego go more and more and more, your life is filled with happiness. Your life is filled with magic. Your life is filled with things that you never even thought of beyond your imagination. Your life is filled with you and God, and it is a glorious life. You ain't going to have a life better than that. I'm telling you now. Whatever you do, whoever you would, could be the most beautiful woman in the world, could be the richest man in the world, could be somebody that has great adventure. It's not going to be as adventurous or great as your life with God. While I have always been in touch with you when you were both in our finer bodies, our conscious effort of reaching out to someone of the ascended masters opened the way for me to come to you in a much more tangible way, that is, tangible to your physical senses. So he's telling them his thoughts brought him to him, that Godfrey Ray King's thoughts brought him to Count Saint Germain. I see you do not quite recognize me in your outer consciousness. I was present during your birth, at your mother's passing. Wow. And was instrumental in bringing you and Lotus together at the right time. Lotus is his wife. That your attainment might not be delayed. Again, I assisted in bringing you and your son into association in this embodiment. This is deep. I want to read this paragraph again. I see you do not recognize me in your outer consciousness. I was present during your birth, at your mother's passing, and was instrumental in bringing you and Lotus together at the right time, that your attainment might not be delayed. Again, I assisted in bringing you and your son into association in this embodiment. So he brought him his wife and his son. He had one child, and his name was Donald. However, be patient. Sit still a few moments. Watch me closely, and I will reveal my identity to you. I did as he requested, and in perhaps a full minute, I saw his face, body, and clothing become the living, breathing, tangible presence of the Master Saint Germain, smiling at my astonishment and enjoying my surprise. He stood there before me, a magnificent godlike figure in a white jeweled robe, a light and love sparkling in his eyes that revealed and proved the dominion and majesty that are his. This, he explained, is the body in which I work a great deal of the time when occupied with the welfare of mankind. Unless the work I am doing at the moment requires closer contact with the outer world of affairs. And in that case, I make my body take on the characteristic and dress of the nation with which I am working at that moment. Oh, I explain. Now I know you, for I have seen you many times like that at the inner levels of consciousness. So he's been seeing Saint Germain as he was doing his spiritual practices. My son, he explained, do you not see what real mastery actually is? We in the ascended state can control the atomic structure of our world as a potter controls his clay. Every electron and atom in the universe is obedient to our desire and command because of the God power by which we control it. and which we have earned the right to be directors. Okay, so he's dropping the science here. He's saying here, every atom, every electron and atom in the universe is obedient to our desires and command because of God's power, which we control and of which we have earned the right to be directors. So it is said, in fact, it's said in this work here, God hides out in the electrons. The electrons, and God serves us through the electrons, right? He's in the electrons. God is in the electrons, and he serves us through the electrons. And how does that happen? Through the power of the spoken word, through thoughts and the power of the spoken word. So how does that work? As we speak, the vibrations coming out of our mouth, the vibrations coming out of our mouth contact the electron that's in the atmosphere and the world all about us, in the universe all about us. And the thoughts activate these electrons into motion to bring about in our lives, in the form of an act, an object, or event, what we thought. This is the secret of life. This is the secret of life. Your thoughts and your feelings. I want to give you an example of this. Imagine meeting a girl, let's say, and you go up and you say to her, yeah, you're cute. She'll get it like, okay, he thinks I'm cute or I'm relatively attractive. But if you go up to that same girl and you say to her something like this, and in this fashion, you are the most beautiful woman in the world. Now she's finished. She's probably your girl and she don't even know it yet. But the way you take them same words and deliver them in a certain fashion with a certain emotional intent, and you've captured her mind. This is the exact same thing that happens to the electrons. You put intensity behind your thoughts, and the electron just begin to vibrate at a higher rate and start to do their work. And what is their work? Their work is the work of the mind. The mind directs thoughts to come into our reality through the way of an act, an object, or an event, and it's just that simple. Now, if we put real intense feelings behind our thoughts, we can manifest something instantly. But if our body is like this, manifestation, only evil happens quick. If our body is like this, it will manifest instantly. Our thoughts will manifest instantly. We will have earned the right to manifest things instantly because of who we are, the pure light of God, the pure vessel of God, God acting. Your body would not get that pure and that bright and that full of light if you weren't practicing the techniques to get you there. And because you are there in that light, in that purity, in that intensity of your God self, you activate electrons just like that, to the point where things will manifest immediately right in your hand. Just like that. These are secrets. These are powerful secrets, y'all. Mankind in the unascended state marvels at these things. But I tell you, it is no more effort for us to change the appearance and activity of our bodies than it is for the ordinary human being to change his clothes. The unfortunate condition in human consciousness that keeps individuals in their self-created limitation is their attitude of mind, which either fears or ridicules what it does not understand, or what is still worse, it is in its ignorance says, this is impossible. A thing may not be probable under certain human conditions, but the God self, which is the great light, can change all human conditions, so nothing is impossible. I would challenge anyone listening to my voice to say, look, you know what? I want to do this thing, but I can't see no way possible how this great thing I want to do can happen. I will challenge you to think on it. I will challenge you to think on it, like Napoleon Hill says. Think on it morning and night. And in fact, if you really want it real bad, think on it morning and night, the first thing in the morning, the last thing at night, when your mind is in that somnambulistic state. Then do it on the hour, every hour, 12 hours out of the day. And with no more effort put before you than to think on this thing and call it into your life with the power of the spoken word, first thing in the morning, last thing in the night, and the 12 hours during the day. And watch how this thing comes into your life and manifests in your life. Just watch. It cannot help but manifest in your life. It must manifest. The only factor in bringing it into your life in the way of an act, an object, or an event will be time. There is another factor that will outrule and override time, and that is the intensity of your emotions behind the power of the spoken word. That is the only thing that will change time, the intensity of your emotion behind your words. And then there are your acts. Okay. At the moment requires close contact with the outer world of affairs, and in that case, I make my body take on the characteristics of it. Okay, now I read that. I want to get back to where we were. Okay, every individual has a divine flame of life within him, and that God's self of him has dominion whenever he moves in the universe. I'm sorry, wherever he moves in the universe. This is powerful. This is a jewel. I'm going to read it again. Every individual has the divine flame of life within him, and that God's self of him has dominion wherever he moves in the universe. If he, because of his own mental inertia, will not exert the necessary effort to reorder his age-old habits of mind and body, he goes on bound by the chains of his own forging. What do they mean by that? His thoughts and feelings. We are bound, we are uplifted, we are successful, we are doomed, we are everything that life puts before us. We are that. We are that in manifestation. See, we are manifesting all the time. And whatever we are manifesting at any time in our life is the accumulation of our thoughts manifesting. No one knows when a balancing factor of karma will manifest or how it will manifest. But know for sure it is manifesting in the form of our feelings and thoughts at any given moment in our life. If in our life we're riding in Rolls Royce, we got the most beautiful woman in the world, we got more money than God, all right? It's because that's how we were thinking, feeling, and acting. That's the half. That's the half right there. That's the secret to life, y'all. That's the secret to life. I gave a seminar last year in California, and ayahuasca seminar was popping. It was happening. It was it. All right. And I was just filled with the consciousness was just, keep spilling out of me, even after it was over. And I went to visit my son out in California. And I told him, I said, look, whatever it is that you want is going to manifest in your life. He wants to be a movie producer, and he's been working on it now for 21 years. I said to him, you've been working on this thing long enough now for it to be manifest in your life. There is a fear that's blocking you. You need to understand. You must intensify your thoughts in a direction that you want to walk. Every step you take, you should be saying, I am the greatest filmmaker in the world. Every step you take, it should be taken with the thought, I'm the greatest filmmaker in the world. I'm the greatest filmmaker in the world. I'm the greatest filmmaker in the world. And this is how he's thinking. So now he's making a movie. Nonetheless, this is how it is with everything that comes about in our life. Everything we want. Excuse me, y'all. I'm gonna let somebody else into this thing. Let me bring this over here so I can do this more easily. Pardon me. And this is the secret to life. And this is the key to life. And this is the spice of life. All right. Okay. He goes on bound by the chains of his own forging. But if he chooses to know the God within himself and dares to give that God self all control of his outer activities, he will receive the knowledge once more of his dominion over all substance, which has been his from the beginning. Now, what he's saying here, everything that we want, all this God power that we're speaking about now is waiting at our beck and call for us to just tune ourselves so we will be in tune with it and walk with it and be it in the light. Be the light. All right? Let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about from an experience. And this is an experience of my friend. He was telling me this story, right? How one works with the other. He was confused. Now he's saying you'll be with a certain thing. As you think and as you feel, you'll be the certain thing. You'll be this thing. You'll manifest this thing in your life, right? This friend of mine, he was a good guy, but he just had hatred toward white people. He was a good guy, he was a spiritual guy, but he had hatred. He's walking around with guns now. He had this hatred for white people. One day he was going home. This friend of mine, who I'm telling you about now, right? And it was late at night, like about 3 o'clock, maybe 3:30 in the morning. And this white guy in a car came to run him over. And he got out the way he had to dive onto the sidewalk to get away from this car that was just trying to run him over. And it was a white guy in the car. So that car turns around, right, goes to the corner, makes a U-turn, goes back on the Grand Concourse, and starts going uptown on the Grand Concourse. There's nobody out. It's 3 in the morning. This guy, this friend of mine, runs to the Grand Concourse, pulls out his gun. He was an expert shot. He aimed, bam, fired. He was an expert shot. He hit the guy. The car went into a tree and blew up. He forgot to tell me that this event was a dream. Because what he was telling me was he felt that he murdered somebody. And all he could feel was that he murdered someone. And it was a dream, though. And he was just feeling this thought day by day. I killed that guy. I killed the guy. But that was a dream. How could I possibly kill them? And he went to his own spiritual master and said, I had a dream that I killed this guy, and I'm just filled with this guilt that I actually killed somebody. It was a dream. What's going on, Baba? What's going on? Why am I feeling this way? And his guru told him, he said, this was a gift to you from God. This dream was a gift to you from God so that it don't manifest in your life. In this dream, you killed that guy because you thought he was trying to kill you. The dream came up because of all of the hatred you had in your heart. You had murder in your heart. You were saved by God by dashing onto the sidewalk when this car came to run you over. God saved you. But because of the murder you already had in your heart, you let that event justify you going after that guy, even though he's going far down the road, and shooting him, knowing that you were an expert shot. From the beginning, you knew you couldn't miss. You knew if you aimed and you shot, you're going to get the guy. You got him, and his car blew up. You had murder in your heart. That's what manifested in your life. Fortunately for you, it manifested in a dream. Because if you murder somebody in real life, you're going to hell. That I guarantee you. This is what his guru was telling him. You need to get that murder out of your heart. You need to get the hate out your heart, and you need to get the murder out of your heart. Look how much worse this would have been if it was an actual event and not a dream. Through the grace of God, you were given this dream to bring you to the consciousness that you have hatred and you have murder in your heart. That's why you carry a gun with you where you go. You don't want to kill nobody. Get rid of that gun. Because the purpose of that gun is to kill. And each gun at some point in time wants to taste blood. It hungers for it. You may have a gun in your house, and when it's that destiny, when it's that gun's destiny to kill someone, it will find a way. Even if it has to be picked up and dropped, and once it hits the ground, the bullet dislodges from the gun and hits somebody in the chest, arm, leg, wherever. The destiny of a weapon is to seek blood. So if you carry a weapon that can murder someone, you're carrying murder with you. Be aware of that. Understand that. I protected you when that car came. I protected you. You went up to the corner to kill that guy because it was murder in your heart. You should understand what life presents before you. And in this way, we're living our lives. All right? He was thinking about murder. He was feeling the hatred and murder. I want to kill one of these white people. And fortunately for him, it happened in a dream. And he started feeling the guilt of murder. That was a boon to my friend. It was a boon to him. Because he certainly had the energy to kill someone. But that dream caused him to dig himself, to put his gun away, and to rely on God to protect him wherever he was. And he was definitely a person who needed protection. But once he started relying on God to protect him, God protected him. He told him, look, I'm going to protect you. You know, and this protection is given to us in many ways and all the time. We just have to see it. The time has arrived when many of humanity are rapidly awakening, and they must in some way be made to understand that they have lived again and again in hundreds, sometimes thousands of lives, each time in a new human body. The law of re-embodiment is the activity in human growth that gives the individual an opportunity to reestablish a balance in conditions that he has consciously caused to be thrown out of balance. It is but one activity of the law of compensation, cause and effect, or what might be called an automatic balancing process governing all forces everywhere in the universe. The right understanding of this law gives one the explanation of many conditions in human experience, which otherwise seem wholly unjust. It is only logical. It is the only logical explanation for the infinite complexities and experiences of human creation. I want to read that again. It is the only logical explanation for the infinite complexities and experiences of human creation, and reveals the operation and the law upon which all manifestation rests. It makes one knows that there is no such thing as chance or accident. All is under direct, exact, and perfect law. Every experience of consciousness has a former cause, and everything at the same instant is the cause of a future effect. So basically, what he's saying is the balancing factor of karma. The balancing factor of karma can never be figured out. You see, because in every one of us, there is, my wife tells me what her grandmother used to tell her all the time. She used to make this phrase. She would say, there is so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us. You know, like a preacher is, you know, he's touchy-feely. He likes to get with the girls in the church, you know, but he's preaching the word of God. He tries to do good thing in the community, you know, the police, you know, he tries to get the robbers, you know, he wants to get all the guys that's going to go out there robbing people and all like that. But he is definitely going to take money from them big time drug dealers, from Italian gangsters. He's going to take that money. Okay. So much good. Now he's out there doing good every day, but every week he's getting payoff. And the politicians, everybody's is getting this, you know, or I should say, is doing this. There is so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us. Was Al Capone mean and evil to his children? He loved his children. He was good to them. You know, Was Hitler evil to Ava Braun? I don't think so. Right? He loved her. Does Satan love his own disciples? You better believe it. And don't mess with them. But God loves his disciples even more. And don't mess with them either. You'll create for yourself a quagmire, nothing but misfortune. Because God protects his disciples like nobody's business. Let us move on. Understand this, y'all. Until free will is taken away, the balancing factor of the law of karma, you will never be able to figure out how it's going to manifest. Let us continue. If a man has injured a woman in one life, he is certain to be reincarnated in a female form and pass through a similar experience until he realizes and experiences that which he has caused another to endure. The same thing is true if a woman be unjust or injures a man. This is the only way by which one is compelled, or rather compels himself to experience both the cause and effect of everything which he generates in the world. The individual can create and experience whatsoever he will in his own world. But if he chooses to do that which causes others to experience discord, then he compels himself to go through a similar condition until he understands what the effect of his own creation is upon the rest of life of the universe. Let's read that again. But if he chooses to do that which causes others to experience discord, then he compels himself to go through a similar condition until he understands what the effect of his own creation is upon the rest of the life of the universe. I want to tell you something. Maybe I might be able to help you with this. Maybe not. I hope so. Right? In this light of things that happen to us that we think, we didn't do anything to deserve this. I have another friend. He was brought up in a very cruel way. Right? In the hood, you have these type friends, He got beat every day, sometimes 3 times a day. He was a nice guy too. He was just a nice guy, as many of our friends are, especially while we're young. And he used to tell the story. His mother beat him, and his father comes home, he get beat, so he becomes angry, And next thing you know, he's living this angry life, and I'm seeing him over the decades, and I'm seeing him. And then one day he comes to me and he says, what I realized is how much hatred I had for my mother, because she would beat me. She would beat me cruelly. Like if somebody was to see an animal get beaten the way my mother beats me, they would stop her in her tracks, right? And he said to me, and it blew my mind, he said, I must have been a cruel MF in another life, because why else would I be living this existence? And I said, you taking on the responsibility of your mother and father's cruelty to you as your own? He said, how else could I experience these things in my own life? How else could I have experienced this? I'm hating my mother because she beat me. Why did she beat me? I was what he said. I was a work. I was a problem. She was beating me, trying to save me, because she knew I was in trouble, and she was beating me, to try to correct me, to try to stop me from doing the many things I did as a little child, to just try to save me from the sinister forces, or the white man, as she would know, because she's born before him, would get him or kill him or do all this. So his mother's objective was really trying to save her child. She definitely went too far with what she did, but he realized, and he said to me, he goes, I need to really just love my mother, because she probably took on the task of beating me just to keep me in line, just so I wouldn't be going out there killing somebody or doing something that I knew I shouldn't be doing. She was a blessing in my life, and I never even saw it. But the reason that I got her as a mother, the reason I experienced this wickedness as a child is because I did it in another life myself to someone else. Maybe I did it to her and didn't even know it. Is it at all, and this is what blew my mind, is it at all possible she was consciously aware of me doing this cruelty to her and taking a birth to save me, right? Forgiving me for what I did, and then she took a birth to save me from my own wickedness or to help me in this life that, you know, karma is very deep, y'all. Karma is very deep, but it definitely comes back upon us. It is not something that happenstential. It is an exact science that comes upon us in a way of an acting object, in a way of an acting object or an event. What we thought in the past, whether it was in this life or another life. I want to know, is there any questions from those people in the Zoom? Anyone? Going once, going twice? Anyone in the Zoom got any questions? All right. This is a long chapter, as a matter of fact. Oh, yeah, very long. No one has any questions on anything we just read. Wow, this is a long chapter. Okay, so let me continue. So Saint Germain says, come with me and let us review the physical life in which you use a feminine form in France. So now Saint Germain is taking him back in time to a life when he was a woman in France, all right? Wherein you were a singer of splendid accomplishments with a voice of rare beauty and power. Immediately, without the least effort on my part, I stood outside my physical body, seeing it clearly as it reposed upon the ground. Seeing it clearly as it reposed upon the ground, or it lay down on the ground. I wondered if it would be safe there on the mountainside, and in an answer to my thoughts, Saint Germain replied, do not be disturbed. Not a thing in the world can harm your body while we are away. Observe. Instantly, I saw it surrounded by a white flame, forming a circle about 50 feet in diameter. He placed his right arm around me, and I saw we were rising rapidly from the ground. But I soon became adjusted to this vibratory action. There was no definite feeling of motion through space, but presently we looked down upon a village in the south of France, and he continued, here you were born as an only child, the daughter of a beautiful woman whose life was an example of idealism far in advance of the majority in that period. Your father was a most devoted husband and companion, highly cultured and inspired by the early Christian spirit. The atmospheric ether of every environment records all that has ever transpired in that locality. So in other words, what we did, all the environment of our past still exists there in the atmosphere. I will revivify these etheric records, and you shall see living pictures giving details of your life. So he's saying, I'm going to reactivate the time in which you lived as a woman so you can see what happened there. And he's also saying, it's like writing down a story in a book. Our life is a story being written in the atmosphere, and it stays there in time. All right. The atmospheric ether of every environment records all that ever transpires in that locality. I will revivify these etheric records, and you shall see living pictures giving every detail of your life. You sang at the church of this village and studied with a teacher who persuaded your parents to let her give you training. You made rapid progress and then received still greater advantages when they moved to Paris. After a year of intensive study, an opportunity came to sing before the Queen of France. And through your patronage, you had appearances at many of her salons. This assured you a successful musical career. France, and success, lavished her gifts upon you for the next 5 years, and you accumulated much wealth. Suddenly, both parents passed through the change called death, and the shock to you was very great, followed by many weeks of serious illness. When you recovered and returned again to concert work, a new sympathetic quality had come into your voice through the recent experience of grief. So his parents died and he became deeper. This happens to us often. A man who has guided much of your musical study, a man who had guided much of your musical study became director of your public works, and you came to depend upon him as one who seemed worthy of trust. Then followed 14 years of brilliant success, at the end of which you became suddenly ill and passed on within a week. So he died within a week of becoming ill after 14 years of success. Your jewels and wealth were left in care of the director to be used to help others and to fulfill certain plans for which you had worked all your life. The last rites were no sooner over than a complete change took place within him, this director who was governing your life. Greed took possession entirely. Now I shall show you that man whom you met some years ago here in America in your present life. The incident is in business. The incident in business. I am quite sure you will remember clearly. Here he showed me a business association in which I had tried to help several people while in the West some 10 years previously in connection with a representative from the Belgian government. The man, he continued, was given a chance here to right the wrong. He did you in France. So the man from the Belgian government is born and in association with him, and he's given a chance. Okay, all right. The man, he continued, was given a chance here to right the wrong he did you in France. That was Deborah. Can you call her? He was shown the conditions and knew full well the situation, for we showed it to him. Wow, now this is deep, okay? But he was not yet strong enough to permit the working out of the great cosmic law of justice and balance that debt. If he had done so of his own volition, it would have given him freedom in many ways and enabled him to have progressed much more rapidly in this embodiment. So they showed him, Saint Germain is saying, we showed him what you did, what he did to you when you were a woman in another birth. So the ascended master showed him what he did. So he saw what he was wrong. He saw that he changed or balanced out the karma of his own free will. And he didn't. Thus does the outer life keep the individual bound to the wheel of necessity, rebirth, continued struggle and pain until we let the light of the Christ, until we let the light of the Christ. I want to read that again. Something seemed a little off. Thus the outer life keeps the individual bound to the wheel of necessity, rebirth, continued struggle and pain until we let the light of the Christ within illumine and purify us, that we may respond only to the plan of God, love, peace, and perfection for his creation. This is the kind of lesson we never forget.
that by any chance?
No.
Okay.
No one can hear me. So we're here, I'm talking, and no one can hear me. How long has that been going on?
Only Raymond.
Kareem, can you hear me now?
They're talking about on YouTube, loudly.
On YouTube.
Not
You can't hear me on YouTube. Okay.
I changed
Oh,
it.
she couldn't. All right. All right. Cool. Thank you. I'm gonna stop here on this page. So Godfrey Ray King is getting the experience of meeting his guru for the first time. Generally, you don't have such experiences meeting the guru, but every meeting of a powerful guru, a real guru, and there's a lot of charlatans out there. Every meeting is a great experience, and it's the beginning of a great adventure about to happen. I would say for myself, if you can find a guru, and when I say guru, I don't mean an ordinary human being. I mean a God-like man or woman. Your life is going to change drastically, especially if you're able to live with that person, travel with that person, be with that person. Your life is going to change drastically. You're going to be living a God-like life, and you're going to have many, many, many wonderful experiences. And all these experiences are designed to let me see how I could put this. Inspire you to want to go after God with all your heart and soul. Some of the experiences you'll have will be experiencing yourself as God in all that power and glory that you're looking to go for, you're looking to attain. Some of the experiences are going to be just like that. Some of the experiences are going to be going to other worlds, having experiences in this world and other dimensions, going to higher dimensions or other dimensions. And some of these experiences might even be going to the interior of this earth, where there are many civilizations and many beings very high in consciousness. When you meet a spiritual master, your life is going to change. It's going to change monetarily. It's going to change physically. It's going to change in your reality. And there is no life that you're going to be able to live that's going to be greater than that life. Your spiritual life is the summum bonum of human existence. It is going to be the greatest experience you have, especially if you have a spiritual master, a real spiritual master. I don't mean somebody that, knows some stuff and like that. I mean a God being, a Christ-like being. When you meet that being is going to give you experience of yourself as God within the first 30 days. That to know that this is a true God being, this is a true God man or woman, within 30 days, that being is going to give you an experience of yourself as God. And you're with the right person. And when I say that being will give you an experience of yourself as God, who knows what that experience will be? No one outside of you. And no one will need to record that experience but you. What you need to understand is when that experience happens, when you get such a boon that you can experience a God, man, or woman, know that your life is about to go on a great, great adventure and is about to change drastically. Here's the deal. Can you stay there? Can you be with that person? Can you follow through with the discipline? Can you have disciples' grace as you get guru's grace? Can you do what most others will not be able to do? And this is a rare thing. My guru told us this. He said, imagine all the people of the world, 1 out of every 100,000 want to be with God. 1 out of every 100,000, right? If you were to take 100,000 people like that, right? 1 out of every 100,000 people like that who want to be with God will travel thousands of miles to be with you in this ashram in India or a place like this. 1 out of every 100,000 who are already themselves 1 out of 100,000. And then he said to us, if you took 100,000 such people who all want to be with God, who all want to travel thousands of miles to be with someone who could teach them to be like God, only 1 out of that 100,000 will make it to the God conscious state. So difficult it is. And the difficulty is not in the practices in themselves. The practices are extremely easy. It's the difficulty in the individuals for them to stay with the practices. To stay with the practices, because the guru sooner or later is going to pass away to the other side. and you will be left with the teachings. Will you follow the teachings? Will you get up every morning and meditate, pray, chant, do decrees? Will you do that? Will you do it 3 times a day? You know, will you do what it is necessary to become the God that you really are? Clouded and covered over like a phone that's blocking you from experiencing your real self, your God self. There's some people who do this with me every day. Why are you doing it? Because you want to feel good about yourself? Are you doing it because you want to become God conscious? Keep doing it. You will become that. Keep doing it. You will become that. Ask yourself, why are you here today? Where do you want to go with this? Are the stories I tell what brought you here? Do you feel you're going to get something out of this? Do you want to become God? And I'm going to tell you this. There are easy ways and there are difficult ways to become God. The easiest way I heard of becoming a God-conscious being is to repeat the decrees of Saint Germain so that everyone in America and the world becomes ascended. Now, I've never heard no one offer such a boon to anyone. Repeat the decrees for America and the world for humanity become ascended, and he will guarantee you ascension at the end of your birth if you do nothing other than that. I want to repeat that again. Saint Germain says, repeat the decrees that we say every day for America and the world, so that everyone in America becomes ascended and everyone in the world becomes ascended. Just say the decrees every day for that. I got a page of these decrees that we do every day, and it takes about 1 minute and 37 seconds. So imagine, with the effort of 1 minute and 37 seconds done every day, saying decrees for the upliftment, for the ascension of everyone in America and the world. If you were to do that simple task, he guarantees you ascension. That's the easiest. That's a boon. That ain't even effort, but that's a boon that Saint Germain guarantees or grants anyone who will do this for him, because his ascension is on the line. If the planet Earth is not uplifted, if the planet Earth does not become a planet that can sustain itself and not be destroyed because of its wickedness, so we're helping him, and he's trying to do everything in his power to change this world. And if he can tell humanity, look, I'm going to guarantee you ascension. I'm going to guarantee you that you become your Trinity, right? By doing this simple little thing. Number one, look how powerful he must be to be able to even do that. The other thing is, look how easy it is for you to become God conscious. Even if you really don't have that great a desire, but you got a desire great enough to say 1.5 minutes to bless humanity every day. I'm going to tell you, I never heard of anything that easy. There is something else that is easy. Repeat the name of God constantly. Repeat the name of God 25,000 times a day. Anallah, 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 Anallah. If you're Muslim, Nam Myoho Q, Nam Myoho Q. If you're Buddhist, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. If you're Hindu, you know, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. If you are a Christian, whatever way, just do that and watch what happens. Watch what happens. I want to task you with something to do. And that is to test the spiritual science. Test this. I want you to try for 30 days, only 30 days, right? Repeat the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. Means I surrender to God. Repeat that mantra 10,000 times a day. Now, it takes about an hour, 10,000 times a day. You could do 3 in an hour. So 3 hours and 15 minutes, 3 hours and 20 minutes. So if you could do 3 an hour, you could say the mantra at this speed. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. At that speed, you can repeat 1,000 repetitions in 20 minutes. 1,000 at that speed. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, which means I surrender to God. I surrender to God. I surrender to God. Right? So if you did that for an hour, that'd be 3,000. 2 hours, that'd be 6,000. 3 hours, that would be 9,000. 3 hours and 20 minutes, that would be 10,000 repetitions of the name of God. Do that for 30 days. And at the end of that 30 days, come back and tell me what your state of consciousness is. Just 30 days. And watch what happens to you. And I would say, try and meditate in that time too, especially on the 30th day. And come back and tell me what experience you had. 10,000 times a day. Not that much, y'all. You'll want to really get crack-a-lacking with repeating the name of God, do it 25,000 times a day. If you really want, if you're saying, I'm crushing the game, I'm going for God consciousness. In fact, I'm not going to say another word that don't have God's name in it. I'm not going to say another phrase in fact, I'm only going to speak the word of God. See what happens to you. If you're Muslim, Allah, Christian, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on you. Hindu, Om Namah Shivaya. Or if that's too difficult to remember this. Hari Om. Say Hari Om. You can say Hari Om 1,000 times in 15 minutes. Just try. And tell me what happens to you within 30 straight days. I'd like to know that. Anybody want to take that task up? Let me know. And we'll monitor you and just see just what happens to you in 30 days. But I'll tell you this. It'll be more powerful than if you fast for 30 days. Now imagine fasting and doing that too. Imagine that. Imagine, intensifying it. Anyway, so I also want anybody who wants to join us in the morning doing this. It's 12:30, 12:37 now. We're overtime. Anybody who wants to join us in the morning doing these practices or learning the practices of prayer, we pray for 10 minutes. We do decrees for 20 minutes. We chant for an hour. And we meditate for 45 minutes using mantra in our meditation. And it's free. Anyone can join us. If you, the information is on the bottom, my information that you could contact me. I am the Magic Presence. You can send that, or you can call my number. The best way to get to me is call 917-946-9616. It's coming on the line. Text me. Right? And I'll send you the information. You can join us if you like. You can come for a week. You can come for a day. You can come for a year. You can come for as long as you want. We're doing the practices. It's wonderful to talk. It's wonderful to teach and give out information. Unfortunately, you want to make progress. You have to use the practices. They're designed to take your consciousness up. And at least once a year, we'll be doing, grandma, grandpa, the medicines, ayahuasca, bufo, this type of thing. And by doing this practices, it opens you up to it, having a powerful experience when you do this. And we're going to have one in August. We'll be doing one here in Atlanta, if not upstate New York. And so everyone is welcome to just join us. There is also one other component to those who are listening. We're studying the UCC. I said I wasn't going to mention it, but I'm mentioning it. We're having people who's getting thousands of dollars back already. So if you want to find out about that, give me a call, and you'll find out about the UCC too. And in other words, you'll find out the millions of dollars that you got and that you can get. Okay, so I want to end this session today by singing what my guru had us sing. Oh man, must have been 10 times a day. And it is that we always stay in love, that we always are friends, that we always feel good toward one another, guru and disciple. Nitya Nandaya Gurave Shisa Samsara Harine Bhaktakaye Dedehaya Namaste Chitsaratmane Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nish Prapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Sahana Vavaktu Sahano Bunaktu Sahavyam Karnava Vahe Tejasvina Vadita Mastu Madhisha Vahe Om Shanti 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 Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Next week we will begin again unveiled mysteries, the story of Godfrey Ray King meeting Saint Germain and going into the work of saving the world. Does anybody have any questions in the Zoom or anything? Okay. With no questions, I will say, God bless you. God bless your family, your friends, your dreams, and your goals. Sagurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.
Just turn it off from your camera.